The theme is so good, but you can't dance to it like you can the rest of our opening themes.
I feel like some of the others you can. This one, it's very heroic. It's very cinematic. I think the actual name of the song is like Heroic or something like that. It's something close to that at least. So hi, welcome to Marvel Time issue number 82. Every time I see the number for this show, I can't believe we're this far into it. But
every time I see the number, I wonder how many Benji's actually been here for.
Well, as Kyle is talking about there, we things are not normal today. So I am Mac, and Kyle is with me today as instead of Benji as usual. So that means we're still gonna talk about comics. We're still gonna talk about some news. We actually got a new Marvel Studios Assembled on Disney Plus today. We'll briefly talk about that. But with Kyle here instead of Benji, that means we're gonna play one of our favorite games. Which do you want to show everybody what that game is?
Sure, here we go. Judging a comic book by its cover. Yes. Sometimes when I've come on, I have read the comics or read some of them. Today, did not have time, so I'm going to wing it and give you my interpretation of the comics based purely on the art, which can sometimes lead me very far astray.
Last time you were pretty accurate, though, so we'll see if you...
Except for the Wolverine one, which was a total fake out.
Yeah, and that was very fair because that was a very confusing cover. Real quick, hello.
We cancel each other out. Sorry.
Hello, Charles. Thanks for watching. So yeah, let's jump into our comics, and we are going to start off today with Iron Fist #1, a new chapter for Iron Fist here. Kyle, this is a very simplistic cover, so yeah. I'm very curious what your thoughts are on this one.
I think Iron Fist is going to be fighting people. And now here's what I don't know. Is this the Danny, whatever his name is, or is this a different Iron Fist?
Yeah, so I mean, you're not wrong. Iron Fist does fight some people and some things in this first issue. This is not Danny Rand. This is the new Iron Fist. Danny Rand had to give up his powers to save the world, in a typical superhero fashion. So we have a new Iron Fist, and we don't know a whole lot about this character yet. This is spinning out of the Death of Doctor Strange series that we talked about on here recently. So pretty interesting new start. Iron Fist is a character I've never been super fascinated by, and I think a lot of people feel that way, especially after the Netflix series, which was easily the least popular of the bunch. But this is an interesting new start. I do like where they're going here, or at least what they've kind of alluded to. I like the idea of Danny Rand potentially being a mentor for this new character, though they are not quite on the same page just yet. We'll see where that goes. And I think they just needed to find a way to make this character interesting to people, because again, I don't think he was the most popular character in recent memory. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing where this one goes after this first issue. It's an exciting start. But again, they need to do something big here to get people drawn in.
So who is this Iron Fist?
So his name is, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but Len Lee. Okay. And yeah, he's got a long family history that they do a big context dump in the beginning of this, and they kind of throw a lot at you all at once. I'm excited to see when they flesh his story out a little bit more and get into his family history. But basically, he has a sword that was holding a demon in a cell of some sort, and the death of Doctor Strange unleashed that demon, and the sword was broken, and parts of it are in his hands, and that's what's giving him the abilities of the Iron Fist, or at least a bridge to that. We'll get more answers as we go on, but it's definitely an interesting start. On to our second comic, and Kyle, can you judge this one by its cover?
So I'm gonna guess that is Logan, and it looks like he has freshly stabbed someone with his claws, or something, because then he also has some sort of like tapeworm snake thing wrapped around his leg. And then there's also like another scene playing out in the background where he's got his like classic 90s Wolvie thing and some so is this, I don't know if the thing's attacking him. It almost looks like he's using the, so I don't know. I'm guessing that this whatever he has wrapped around his leg was involved in this fight with is that Red Guardian by chance?
It is Omega Red,
Okay.
a different Russian villain. So you're not you're
Not right.
But this one, I will grant you, it's almost impossible. Again, with this it was 10 Lives of Wolverine last time too. This is a time jumping series that is going throughout key moments in Wolverine's life, and we're piecing this story together more and more with each issue because of the way it's being told. It is, I mean, quite literally jumping through time. Basically, Omega Red has found a way to travel through time and is trying to wipe out Charles Xavier's existence by killing some of his ancestors. And Wolverine is there at every moment to meet him to prevent that from happening. This Wolverine that you see in the foreground of this cover, don't even think he appears at any point in the comic. So I'm not sure what's happening there. You are right in the background there. There is that scene where Wolverine is fighting Omega Red. Omega Red seems to be in his classic 90s. Like you were right about that time period. This is actually the very original Wolverine costume you're seeing there. So I don't know the exact debut of Wolverine off the top of my head. I want to say late 70s maybe. But so yeah, a little bit of an older one there. I am liking this more and more. So this is this crossover series where we have 10 Lives of Wolverine and 10 Deaths of Wolverine happening at the same time. And actually, I think it might have been 10 Deaths. That was the last cover that completely threw you off because it was Wolverine on the cover and Wolverine was not in the issue at all. It was a Moira McTaggart story, which I'm really, really enjoying that. This is the first issue in this series that I've really enjoyed too, because I'm liking where they're going with this. It's starting to piece together. We're getting more information. And this is definitely one that I would recommend reading once it hits Marvel Unlimited and you can binge through it, because I could see getting frustrated by the first couple issues and not having enough answers. But now I think that you can fly through the first 3 issues. It's much more entertaining to read this way. The emotional stakes of this are huge. It's obviously, there's big things at play with, if they were to wipe Charles Xavier out of existence, how does that impact the timeline of the X-Men and mutants in general? But also, this is, like I said, going through key moments in Wolverine's history. So Wolverine is pretty much impervious, but the people around him are not. And that's sort of been his curse throughout his whole character history. And so he's dealing with a lot of that all at once in this. So it's getting really interesting, and I'm excited about where it's going. I'm very curious still to see how this crosses over into 10 Deaths of Wolverine, because as of right now, they feel like 2 completely different stories. So not sure where they're going to bridge that gap. On to our next issue here. We've got The Amazing Spider-Man number 89 as we continue this Beyond story arc and the Goblin Queen here. So, Kyle, good luck.
Okay, so you said Goblin Queen, so I'm gonna guess that is the Goblin Queen who's in red, and she's got the cool like flaming thing. I already was gonna guess that was Black Cat, and the cat part tells me I'm correct about that. And then you see, I assume this would be the Goblin Queen's little flyer thing, kind of like the Green Goblin has a little flyer thing.
Yep.
And they are engaged in some sort of battle, presumably over the streets of New York.
Safe bet. Yeah, anytime there's a battle happening, there's like a 75% chance it's in New York. Yeah, you're right. Obviously, there's more context to it. The Beyond Corporation has created this new villain to keep some of their secrets from getting out, and Black Cat has leaped into action to save the day because Spider-Man is still down and out from his injuries. This picks up from a Spider-Man issue that we read a couple of weeks ago that ended in a really fascinating way. Ben Reilly has been acting as Spider-Man while Peter Parker was in the hospital. And the Goblin Queen that you see on the cover here attacked a building and threatened the lives of Janine, who is Ben Reilly's girlfriend, fiance, whatever she is at the moment, and Mary Jane, who were both trying to get those secrets about Beyond out there. And Ben Reilly got there just in time. He saved Janine and took off and left the Goblin Queen there with Mary Jane, a very non-Spider-Man thing to do. So that was, kind of had us on pins and needles. We're really excited to see where this was going. And now you've got the Black Cat being the one to come in and try and save the day. Goblin Queen is an awesome new villain. I really like this. I can't wait to get more answers about this character. And the whole thing going on with Peter right now is just fantastic. It's been going on for a long time, and I'm ready to see him get back into action. But we're ramping up to it, and I think it was really well handled in this issue. So there's also a really awesome moment that I shared with you as I was reading this that basically just alters the quote from the movie Avengers, the first Avengers. So you'll enjoy that if you have seen the movie, which if you haven't seen that movie and you're reading comics, you're doing something wrong. But really, really liked this issue. This was very close to being my pick of the week, but there was one other that I liked just a little bit more.
I'm excited to see what that is.
Well, we are first going to talk about Devil's Reign Superior 4 #2. And I love that you have to tell me what this is about, having not read the first issue.
Okay, well, Superior 4 would be better than the Fantastic Four. So you got a Hulk with several arms, and you got Wolverine that was something special. Oh, wait. No, I don't know. Well, it looks like so basically Dr. Octopus has taken other superheroes and octified them. So that's why you have like Hulk with multiple arms. It looks like Wolverine's got like things coming out, and so does Ghost Rider. That's my pitch. And Superior Spider-Man also features Doc Ock as Spider-Man, so that's where the Superior comes in.
Yeah, you're very, very close. So these are actually variants of Otto Octavius from across the multiverse that I've just, been combined characters, versions of these characters. So it is Wolverine with those metallic arms coming out. Ghost Rider has these sort of chain arms, and the Hulk just has more normal arms. But yeah, this is a pretty wild spin-off from Devil's Reign. Is a very grounded crossover event. It's all about Wilson Fisk has outlawed superheroes in New York, and they're in a political battle where Luke Cage is running for mayor against him, and very Civil War-esque. They're kind of operating in secret. And meanwhile, you've got this Doc Ock is working for Wilson Fisk, but he has his payment for that is getting access to Reed Richards' lab, and he has used that to jump across the multiverse and find different versions of himself to prove that he is the ultimate Doc Ock, but also use all of them to sort of take over the multiverse. It's kind of hard to judge what his motives are at this point. It is getting a little bit complex, unnecessarily so. And I'm not sure when this is taking place within this crossover event at this point either, because he was involved in not the most recent issue, the one before that. He was involved, Doc Ock, was involved in a fight. So I'm not sure if this is right after that or what, but it's also jumping around the multiverse, and we get a Doctor Doom, Otto Octavius combination here, and that is a very interesting character. The coolest thing about this has been the character designs. I've loved the artwork, and obviously you can see these characters on the cover here, but the Doom one is really awesome as well. But this is starting to get a little bit too crazy for me. So I'm interested to see how this wraps up. We are 4 out of 7 issues through Devil's Reign, I believe. I think it was either 6 or 7. So we're running out of time for this story to wrap up. But interested to see how we get to wherever this is going to close this story, because it's very strange.
I'm a little disappointed I didn't get closer on that one, but I think I did decently.
You did. I mean, Wolverine and Ghost Rider especially, they just look like them.
If I had longer to think about it, because then I made the like Superior Spider-Man connection at the end,
right.
so if I would have thought that it was him, and I was on the right track, just didn't get there in time.
Yeah, and we did actually see Superior Spider-Man in the first issue of this too. So, yeah, you were very close. But let's move on to our fifth and final issue, which is Fantastic Four number 40. This is a tie-in to the Reckoning War story that just kicked off a couple weeks ago. And this is of all the crossover events right now, which there are so many, maybe Timeless is the slightly bigger one, but this one feels like the stakes are as high as any event before. So this is definitely a huge crossover event. And this is going to be my pick of the week. I really, really like this one. I'm not typically a huge Fantastic Four fan, mostly because I'm not a fan of Reed Richards, really. He's such a difficult character to like. And they really pushed the limits with that here. But Reed in the last issue took on the abilities or all of the knowledge of the Watcher. And you can imagine somebody with a brain and problem-solving capabilities like Reed with all of that information, leading all of these heroes in a massive intergalactic battle. It's very chaotic, and you really feel the stakes of it as everyone around him is following his orders, but at the same time frightened by what's happening because of the way that Reed is treating this situation. And again, this feels like a really huge event because not only is it the Fantastic Four leading all of the heroes, but you also have Doctor Doom involved in a completely different capacity. Silver Surfer is involved and is actually leading an attack, or part of an attack at least, on Asgard. So there's a lot happening. It's going to be completely just bonkers by the time this thing comes to an end, because again, the scope of this story is as big as anyone in recent memory. So there's going to be some major consequences of this, as the last couple of pages in this issue kind of tease. So I'm really interested to see what happens, or what the results are of this Reckoning War crossover series. And sorry, I got excited and I jumped right into it. I didn't even give you a chance to guess what this is about.
That's okay. I was gonna guess, and now you're gonna hate it based on what you said about Reed Richards. But I was seeing this guy who looks like a ram, so I figured that Reed Richards was doing his Joe Burrow impersonation and trying to battle it.
Gotcha. Yeah, you're right. I do hate it. Thank you. No, I feel like I saved you there, because there's no way you were getting any of the scope from this cover at all.
No.
And it is just a Fantastic Four issue. So it is, scaled. It seems like it should be scaled down, but really, again, it has the scope of the whole crossover event. So, yeah, really a good issue. Like this one a lot. Again, my pick of the week. Let's see. Out of the four that I allowed you to do before cutting you off on the fifth, I feel like you did pretty well on three of them, and the Wolverine one, again, wasn't fair. So
that's true. And then as far as my pick for cover art of the week, I think I'd probably go with the Superior Four, or maybe the Iron Fist. But I think Superior Four is interesting.
Yeah, the Iron Fist one is very simple. I do like this new character design for this new version of Iron Fist, but the Superior Four has a lot more going on. I like the color scheme of it, so I think I agree with you there. So that's it for our comics for the week. Like I mentioned, though, we did get a new Marvel Studios Assembled on Disney Plus today. This is the making of Eternals, and we won't go too much in depth on this because Kyle and I are actually going to be doing another episode of Zacks of Life this week, where we're going to talk about the making of Hawkeye and the making of Eternals. So we'll have a more in-depth conversation there. You'll be able to check that out on Monday. But I want to talk about it a little bit. Did you get a chance to watch Hawkeye?
I watched the Hawkeye one. I haven't watched Eternals yet. That's on my slate for tonight.
So I felt like the Hawkeye one was one of the weaker installments in this series, because it felt like there were so many topics for them to rush through, and they kept recapping us on everything Clint Barton had been through, and I felt like they didn't need to do that. We're watching this because we know where we're at with the story.
Mm-hmm.
This, I think, the Eternals one is one of my favorites. I think this movie is so different, and the way that it's an ensemble movie without having several movies for them to go off of previously. Like with Avengers, you had these backstories for all of these characters. Here, they had to introduce all of them. And so the same with the documentary, they take the time to go through the cast, and they actually have everybody like describe all the characters in one word, and they spend a little bit of time with each character. So I like the way that they did that. They spend a lot of time talking about the set design and the costume design, which if I can just complain real quick for a second, this movie not getting Academy Award nominations for costume design and visual effects, that's just nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. The costumes especially, they're unbelievable. And you think back to the detail that they talk about with the making of Shang-Chi, and how they would like hand stitch like 4,200 scales onto every costume. And like, it's the same level of detail with these. So they did such an incredible job, and you get a behind the scenes look at that here as well. So I definitely recommend it. And again, we're going to get a more in-depth conversation about both this and the making of Hawkeye on Zacks of Life that you can check out on Monday. Is there anything in particular that, I know you haven't watched it yet, but is there anything that you're excited to learn more about with this movie?
I guess probably seeing more of I know Chloe Zhao was really pushing for like to shoot in real locations and everything. So I think there'll be I'm expecting a lot of beautiful shots of those real areas that they kind of added a level of Marvelness on top of.
Yeah, they do talk about that quite a bit too. So that was another interesting bit that I had. By the way, my review of this Assembled is up on laughingplace.com as well, and you can check that out now. All right, ready to get into the news, because we had just a minor little trailer drop that a lot of people are talking about. So let's talk about Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, this new trailer that came out just a few days ago. Man, what were your first impressions of this?
I was a little surprised because when Benji and I were discussing what we thought we'd see, we're like, oh, well, I feel like the Doctor Strange one wasn't that long ago. We were thinking that Obi-Wan was the bet, and especially once they announced the date, we're like, okay, so then that's a shoo-in. I even had Luke prep an article for it, so that's sitting somewhere. But no, when it started, I wasn't expecting a ton of new stuff. But then as it went on, I was expecting big reveals, and there's hints at reveals, but nothing confirmed, in my opinion.
Yeah.
There was no, Spider-Man, hey everyone at the end or anything like that. And I was kind of anticipating something like that. So instead we have to go frame by frame like you did and look at the poster and the trailer to dissect it for what could be hints and could be red herrings.
Yeah. I totally agree with everything you said. I think the buzz after this trailer was, oh, that's Patrick Stewart as Charles Xavier. That's his voice. We know we're getting him in this movie. I would pump the brakes a little bit, because even if that is the case, I doubt they put that in a trailer like this. We'll see. That being said, I do have all of the speculation here. We're going to look through it quickly, because I'm not going to spend all of the time, because I did spend 3 hours breaking down this trailer the other day, because there's that much in it. One thing I do want to talk about is America Chavez, who is all over this trailer. She pops up quite a bit. They are not keeping her as a secret anymore. So she's been rumored for a long time, but now we got a really good look at her. And she is a member of the Young Avengers. So we'll in the comics, I should say. So we'll see what her role is in the MCU. We won't have to wait too much longer for that. We, of course, get a lot of Wanda, aka the Scarlet Witch, in this trailer. Baron Mordo rocking a new hairdo. I like that. I'm very intrigued to know, is he friend or foe? I mean, we see him fighting with Doctor Strange in the trailer, but he also just kind of frees him from his shackles in that fight. So Was that intentional, or I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see. The really interesting stuff comes in this facility here, as we see Strange being led to some sort of cell by these drones, these robots of some sort. And then he is led to this room where you see these chairs. And let me point out these characters here. Actually, let's see if we can zoom in a little bit and get you a better look. But you see this sort of flat top walk-in with these swords seemingly attached to the back, very reminiscent of Blade. That is the talk for this character. You've got this seated character here with a hood on. A lot of people speculating that might be Doctor Doom. And then this one right over here. And actually, I think I have a closer look here. Can almost make out a little bit of a blue hue on this sort of skin-tight suit. A little bit of a white spot right around here. Reed Richards is the name that's being thrown around for this character. There's a lot of speculation, obviously, involved. And Marvel is known for completely deceiving us with their trailers. So possibly none of those characters are even in this scene in the actual movie. And they might just be playing with us here. But this grouping of characters is very reminiscent of a group in the comics called the Illuminati, which is, we can see right here, is made up of Charles Xavier, Iron Man, Namor, Black Bolt, Doctor Strange, and Reed Richards. So obviously, slight twist here. We're not going to get Tony Stark as we are familiar with him, but there's a lot of rumors about a different Tony Stark being in this movie as well. So this movie is going to be absolutely wild. There's a lot of stuff going on just in this trailer. And by the way, I included this look at a dark version of that group called the Cabal. And I included that because Doctor Doom obviously present in that group, and we speculate that he might have been in one of those chairs. So
is that Hela or someone, or a different Loki? Or
that is actually, yeah, it's Loki. You got Loki, the Hood, Emma Frost. We have Norman Osborn, Namor, who plays both sides. He is just a frustrating character. So there's a lot to take away from that. Again, all speculation at this point. We don't know what the real answers are. We get the voice saying we should tell him the truth that everybody thinks is Patrick Stewart. Everybody thinks it's Charles Xavier. We see this silhouetted figure standing in front of Doctor Strange. The thought out there being that is Charles Xavier. My guess, based on Strange's reaction, and this I will give my wife credit on this one. She threw this out there before I did. We think this is Tilda Swinton. This is the Ancient One, still alive in another universe, and Strange's facial reaction kind of reflects that a little bit. So it could be really interesting there.
I do have a quick question. During these Illuminati hearings, I have to imagine nobody calls on Black Bolt.
Yeah, there's actually a really cool moment with the Illuminati, because this happens. It crosses over through a lot of key moments in Marvel history, one of them being Secret Invasion. And they are having their meeting. And at one point, Black Bolt actually does speak, and they immediately know something is wrong. And it turns out it's been a Skrull as Black Bolt the whole time. So, yeah, it could be something along those lines happening as well. Man, it's so funny that with the multiverse and Skrulls, nothing is anything you actually ever know. It's just nothing is real. We do see Strange and America falling through some different dimensions, one of them being inhabited by dinosaurs, which obviously makes Marvel fans think of the Savage Land, which is a land within Antarctica that is inhabited by dinosaurs in present day. So there you go. There's also a very, very quick blink and you miss it kind of moment in the trailer where, as he falls out of that dimension, kind of breaks glass into an animated dimension, it looks like. So it'd be really, really fascinating if they were willing to actually have a portion of this movie be animated. I think that would be a really, really cool way to go about, an already crazy ambitious movie, but to make a portion of it animated, I think would be really cool.
Budget savings.
Sure.
Or not. I don't actually know.
Yeah, actually, it might not be, depending on where they go about it. I mentioned Iron Man potentially being involved. The rumor is Superior Iron Man, a different version of Tony Stark, and the certain action star potentially playing him. I think the rumor out there
one who was rumored in the 90s. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And we see this glimpse of this character here who's fighting with Wanda. There are thoughts that is maybe Superior Iron Man. Looks to me like it's more of a Captain Marvel variant for this universe, but we'll have to wait and see if this character even exists in the movie. Who knows? So yeah, there's lots more America Chavez. Like I said, Shuma Gorath, who we saw in the previous trailer. We see Wanda in her home in Westview. So there's a lot to take away from this trailer, but there's also a lot just in the poster. And one of the most interesting things to me about the poster here is this glimpse right here. You can see this shard of glass, the reflection of the shield of Captain Carter. So, breaking more into what if, we already know we have the Strange Supreme involved in this, and now it looks like we might be meeting Captain Carter as well, possibly in that animated universe that we see a brief glimpse of. And then the one that is super speculation, we've got this one right here, and you can kind of make out the shape of a head and a couple of eyes. And the thought, obviously, is that this is Deadpool. This is already spanning multiple universes. If people are so confident in it being Charles Xavier, we're breaking into a Fox property. Why not one more? Why not involve Deadpool as well? So, so much speculation.
So then is Ralph Boner really actually different version? Quicksilver somewhere else?
So many variables, so many questions. Basically, this is just going to kill me as we count down the days to May 6th, when we finally get Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. It feels crazy to me that this movie feels as big as No Way Home, and all of the excitement around that movie, and yet there's downtime. Obviously, we have like 6 months between these two movies, but the level of excitement doesn't taper at all. Like it's still on that same level, and it's going to be really interesting to see how the MCU can keep that going.
Do you think anyone has gone through all of the old like TNG episodes and movies and seen if Picard ever says like we should tell him the truth, and maybe Strange is just like watching Star Trek on TV or something?
That would be an amazing troll job if that were the case. That would be really, really funny. Yeah, that would be great. I'm sure. By the way, I'm sure somebody has done that.
Seems like a thing people would do.
Right. Luckily, we don't have to wait until May 6th without something to hold us over, and we actually did get a TV spot for Moon Knight, which is coming March 30th to Disney Plus.
My waking life.
I mean, you could be the stand-in for Oscar Isaac if anything goes wrong. This TV spot, obviously not quite as detailed as the trailer. This was only a 30-second spot. It was very quick. We didn't get a whole lot of new details or anything to break down out of this, but we did get a cool look here at Khonshu sneaking up on Stephen Grant, which I have to get used to the fact that we're going with Stephen Grant as sort of the main character here and not Mark Spector. But Khonshu does actually call out Stephen's name in a very creepy, ghostly voice, which is pretty cool. So yeah, I am so excited for this. We get some more action scenes in this too. We see Moon Knight's cape actually take the form of the moon, and then he actually gets one of his crescent darts from the moon too, which is not something I remember seeing in any comics. So that is interesting. I'm very curious to see how supernatural they're going to get with this character in this series. But yeah, what did you think about this new spot?
I liked it. I mean, there was nothing that really stood out to me after the trailer. It kind of just felt like a little bit more. I do love that they're sticking with that. I think it works very perfectly where he's jumping from building to building, and it uses it for the Disney Plus when you wish upon a star thing. Yeah, I like that. I like that motif that they're sticking with.
Yeah, and I'm really excited for this series, and we did actually get some more Moon Knight news over the past week too. Moon Knight is on the cover of Empire magazine. They are talking about this series, obviously, as is typically the case with any next big Marvel project. So we got some more looks at Moon Knight's costume here on the cover, but also we got to look at an image from inside the magazine, which features Mr. Knight in his more formal Moon Knight suit. I can't believe, one, I can't believe that they are including this version of the character, and two, I'm so excited that they are. I love that they are getting, way into the weeds of Moon Knight. To give you some background, this is basically Moon Knight is a very violent character in his suit, and he wears the all-white, typical superhero suit because he wants the bad guys to see him coming. He wants them to fear him, as opposed to, like a Batman who sneaks up wearing all black and hides in the shadows. Moon Knight is all about the theatrics. So this version of Moon Knight, though, when he puts on this suit, is more calculated, a little bit more calm, but still ready to, bludgeon anyone to death at any given moment. So I like that they are including this version of the character as well. And this bit of this photo was released also with an interview with Kevin Feige, where he mentioned that they're not, let me get the quote, they're not pulling back at all in terms of the violence of this character. That I will believe it when I see it. I totally believe that they will up the ante as far as what we've seen so far, but I don't know that they are not going to pull back on the violence.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't think. I've gone into some of the gory details before. We don't need to do it again, but I don't think you're going to see the full extent of the Moon Knight brand of violence. But I'm excited to see how far they are willing to go. So it's definitely going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to it a lot. What are your thoughts, by the way, on Mr. Knight and this very unorthodox superhero suit?
I mean, he looks like quite a ladies' man.
I will say, if I was going to cosplay at any point, this is it right here. This is what I would want to wear, and also, like, I might just show up at a wedding one day dressed like this.
I mean, you go to enough of them.
Fair. That's a good point. I do have another coming up in June, so we'll see. But speaking of violence potentially on Disney Plus, the Netflix Marvel series are leaving Netflix as of March 1st. So February 28th will be the last day for these series. Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, The Punisher, and The Defenders, all leaving after February 28th, with no announcement yet regarding what will be their new streaming home. So the thought is, maybe these come to Disney Plus. I would be interested to see if they give us an edited version of these, if that is the case, because they are very violent. They're adult in nature in other aspects as well. So we'll see how they handle that. It's possible they could end up on Hulu. I don't know the rights with Marvel Television and all of that. So not sure how that would iron out, but
and I mean, I think it's easy to be like, oh, well, they'll just put them on Hulu, but because these are originally for Netflix, that does mean that they'd have to, unless they just want to forget about it. But Hulu has ad breaks. Like, you can skip them if you have the right plan, but those beats, if they wanted to insert, maybe they'll also have pre-roll and post-roll. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see if they did put it on Hulu, if they would try to find places to insert mid-rolls.
Yeah, that's a good point too. That's something else to think about too with that. So really interested. The one bit of contract information that I did have was that the agreement with Netflix was that these characters couldn't appear in any non-Netflix show or movie until 2 years after the shows had been canceled. So that's why we were able to see Matt Murdock in No Way Home. And any of these characters are fair game now. So, and Wilson Fisk also in Hawkeye as well. So you never know. You never know when you're going to see Finn Jones show up as Danny Rand, as everyone's favorite superhero. So yeah, that's the big Marvel news from this past week. We did have a few other things as well, some merchandise and some comic stuff. These Guardians of the Galaxy die-cast ships dropped on Shop Disney. I'm not sure how big these are, but they are only $14.99, which is a pretty great price for something. If this is a little die-cast ship, that's really nice.
Well, that's probably why they sold out pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine that they won't make more, especially as it gets closer
right.
to the ride opening. But
Exactly. Yeah. So you've got the Xandar Star Blaster here, and you got one that is just being referred to as Guardian Ship. I don't know that we have a different name for this ship, but there's also the Milano. So you can collect all of these. Again, $14.99. They are sold out right now, but I would imagine they will be back fairly soon.
And hopefully those links will be able to stay active. Sometimes they change them, but hopefully once they do come back, it'll be the same.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, really cool little collector's items for Marvel fans there. And then some comic news as we wrap things up. We got a whole slate of X-Men related comics coming in May as we get into the Judgment Day storyline, where we got this sort of civil war happening between the X-Men and the Eternals, with the Avengers in the middle of it. Have you? I don't remember if we talked about this while you were on the show or not. The whole Judgment Day thing. So the concept of this here is that the Eternals realized they made a mistake, and they thought they had wiped out all the deviants, but they had forgotten the mutants, who turns out are a form of deviants. So they decide they need to wipe out the mutants. Obviously, mutants are going to fight back, and the Avengers are going to try and put a stop to this war. So you got a really interesting dynamic here that I'm excited for this story. And we got a whole slate of comics. We got Immortal X-Men. All of these issues will be out in May. So we got X-Men, Knights of X, and I mean, this is just going to cover all of the basis of the mutant comics. Legion of X, Marauders, which I'm really excited about. Marauders has been my favorite mutant title for a while now. We've got New Mutants, of course, Wolverine, X-Force, which Juggernaut being involved in X-Force is awesome. And then X-Men Red, which is taking place on Mars right now. So pretty interesting there as well. So yeah, lots happening in May. May is going to be a crazy busy month in terms of comics. And that goes for the new Thunderbolts series that is also coming in May. And this is spinning out of the Devil's Reign crossover story right now. Sorry, I forgot the title of it for a second because there are so many crossovers happening. But yeah, this is going to be coming out as a result of that story. Clint Barton is the leader of the Thunderbolts, which is very opposite of the traditional Thunderbolts lineup. If you're familiar with them, Baron Zemo has been one of the leaders of the Thunderbolts in the past. So very different kind of lineup here. I'm interested to see where they go with that. And then we also got a little bit of information about Marvel's Voices Identity, which will be coming May 11th, celebrating Asian Pacific Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. So that, again, coming May 11th, it's going to involve stories with Kamala Khan, Shang-Chi, Wong, and Mantis, and just a lot of fun new stories there. So lots of comics coming up in May. A whole lot of titles that we're going to be talking about.
Lots of opportunities for me to guess what they are based on the.
Yeah, well, we'll see how much you can remember from our discussion today. But yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Scott, for watching. Yeah, I wish we had more information on Doctor Strange and Moon Knight.
We only have a few more months. It's only like, what, 3 months away?
Yeah, well, luckily, we only have about a month and a half until Moon Knight, and that'll hold us over until we get to Doctor Strange, which I'm really curious. We don't have a number of episodes just yet for Moon Knight. And again, March 30th. So, 6 episodes would take us past Doctor Strange hitting theaters. So I'm really interested to see if they are going to allow that to overlap at all. But we will see. I can't wait. These assembleds were nice, but they're not enough to hold me over now. I really need some more Marvel.
Yeah, and I enjoyed some episodes of Book of Boba Fett, but it just wasn't the same as getting a Marvel show. Every time it would do like a recap of the episode, I would start hearing those like in my head, and then I'm like, oh no, it's not a Marvel show.
Right. Although with Doctor Strange, maybe he shows up during that Boba Fett fight. Who knows? One last thing we want to do before we get out of here today. We'd like to talk about what we are reading on Marvel Unlimited. Kyle, do you have You reading anything these days?
I've been listening to audiobooks to review for personal finance, so nothing in the realm of comic books at the moment. But there was something recently that I was that I was thinking about reading on Marvel Unlimited, but I forget what it is. So,
all right, well, we will have to talk about that after the show, but we'll figure out what that was and get you reading that. But I've been reading Superior Iron Man. No reason in particular. Just found it on Marvel Unlimited. No, I hadn't read this before, and obviously with the potential involvement in Doctor Strange, I became really interested, and it's really good. I'm actually surprised at how much I'm enjoying this series. It is a variant, different universe. Tony Stark dealing with Matt Murdock a lot. Really, really interesting story. So I highly recommend checking that out on Marvel Unlimited. And yeah, that's going to do it for us. I am realizing right now I don't have our schedule for future videos in front of me. So I do not know off the top of my head what else we have coming up. But let's see. Tomorrow, do we have anything on Thursday? Actually, I'm not even sure.
There might be. All I know is Saturday night there will be Disney Trivia Live, and if all goes well, I should be presenting one of those quizzes about Las Vegas attractions, past and present, with some Disney connections and references thrown in, of course.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. I was going to ask you why you are promoting that show, but yeah.
Yeah, they don't invite me on very often. So when they do, I feel like it's in my contract. I need to.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm excited to attempt your quiz. I don't know Vegas very well, but I will do my best there. Let's see. We do have Jeremiah will be at Epcot tomorrow. We've got some TV time with Alex, so that should be fun. And then Star Wars headlines. Now that we have moved on past the Book of Boba Fett, we are back into just normal Star Wars headlines on Thursday. So all of that tomorrow. So keep an eye on the Laughing Place YouTube channel. And then again, like I mentioned before, Kyle and I will be recording a new episode of Zacks of Life, sort of holding us over in between Marvel projects as we wait for Moon Knight. We're going to catch up on some news and talk about the two latest assembled on Disney Plus.
What's your recap goal for your news thing this time? Are we still doing 60 seconds or?
I have to look and see how much news we've missed. I feel like there wasn't honestly all that much in the past. What has it been, like 5 weeks since we did an episode? Something like that. So I don't think there was that much big news that it's going to be too much of a challenge. So we'll see. I'll gather it all together and we'll figure it out.
Okay.
Yeah, that new episode will be out on Monday. We have a really fun draft plan that I am really excited to do. So, definitely check that out. And we will be back for more Marvel time next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.